chapter 15. Our topic is about solid and hazardous waste. So what is solid waste? Solid waste represent pollution and the unnecessary waste resources, while hazardous waste contribute to pollution, natural capital degradation, and health problems. So we have 3 examples in solid waste. First, industrial waste, municipal waste, and hazardous waste. In industrial waste, it includes chemical waste, solvents, paints, and metals. In municipal waste, it includes in-home and business materials, which is wood, glasses, and sanitary waste in septic tanks. So last is hazardous toxic waste. Is a type of dangerous goods, and toxic waste can harm people and animals. So example ani niya kay kani atang mga dispose nga disinfectants o kanang mga garbages. So in hazardous waste, we have also 3 examples. First is organic waste, toxic heavy material waste, and radioactive waste. In organic waste is simply any materials that comes from a plant or animal and biodegradable waste. In next, toxic heavy materials. Mercury, lead, chromium have been the most common heavy metals that induce human poisonings. Next, radioactive waste. This waste include common items such as rags and laboratory equipments contaminated during the early age of nuclear weapons. So next, what are the harmful chemicals in your home? So in cleaning, we have disinfectants. So ang disinfectants kay for example is kanang inuglimpyo nato sa CR kanang tough, for example tough pwede po siya makadaot sa tuang skin. Then next, in general, we have dry batteries. So, ang dry batteries, pwede po siya makapoison sa atua sa mga tao. Then, in paint product, naapod siya solvents. So, ang solvents kung masimot nimo siya, pwede po siya makadaot sa imuhang lungs. And number 4, we have gardening. So, naapod siya kanang sa pesticide killer. So, for example, kanang abono, makapoison po siya sa human, sa mga tao. And last, we have automotive. Dry batteries. So, dry batteries, makapoison job mo siya sa atua. Like sa atua or sa animals. Trash production and recycling. So, in 1920 to 1940, highest trash due to coal ash. In 1962 to 1963, lowest trash coal burning phased out. In 1964 to 1974, rise in trash due to throwaway containers. So nitaas na po dato ang mga basura tungod sa gipanglaban nga mga containers bisag with anything. Then 1999 declared a mandatory for recycling. So how should we deal with solid waste? A sustainable approach to solid waste is first, reduce, then reuse, and recycle.
We can burn or bury solid waste or produce less of it. Waste management. Waste management is a streamlined process that organizations use to dispose of, reduce, reuse, and prevent waste. Waste reduction. Waste reduction is anything that reduces waste by using less materialistic in first place. So the example, use a reusable bottle or cup for beverage on to go. The example of bottle or cup is katong tumbler or plastic bottle. Then, integrated waste management uses variety strategies. Integrated waste management is designed as a large-scale system. There are things you, as an individual, can do it to support the system. You can set up your kitchen in a way that makes possible to separate your waste into appropriate categories. Integrated waste management are raw materials to processing and manufacturing products. Solid and hazardous waste generated during the manufacturing process is generated by household and business. So, muna siya ang plastic, glass, metal, and paper. To manufacturers for reuse or for recycling. So, muna siya ang plastic, glass, metals, and paper. So, pwede na ito na siyang ma-recycle. Then, food yard waste, compost, or fertilizer. Kanang food yard waste, pwede na ito siya na i-compost and may mo siyang fertilizer. Then, sa hazardous waste management. Then, remaining mixed waste, landfill, Incinerator. Sa integrated waste management, priorities for dealing with solid waste. First priority, primary pollution and waste prevention. Change industrial process to eliminate use or harmful chemicals. Ang harmful chemicals ay example, tong sulfuric acid and chlorine. So, sulfuric acid, example ato is katong muriatic acid nga mas more nga makadaot siya sa ato ang panit. Then, use less a harmful product, reduce packaging and materials in product, make product that last longer and are recyclable, reusable, or easy to repair. And second priority, pollution and waste prevention, such as reuse, repair, recycle, compost, bioreusable, and recyclable product. So when we buy product, so kana siya ang like atong sa plastic, glass, metals, or paper, nga pwede na to siyang ma-recycle or ma-reuse. So, in last priority, waste management, treat waste to reduce toxicity, incinerate waste, bury waste in landfills, release waste into environment for dispersal or dilution. We can cut solid waste by reducing, reusing, and recycling. Waste reduction is based on reduce, reuse, and recycle. So that's the 3 Rs. There are 7 strategies such as redesign manufacturing processes and products to use less material and energy. Number 2, redesign manufacturing processes to reduce less waste and pollution. Number 3, develop products that are easy to repair, reuse, remanufacture, compost, or recycle. Number 4, eliminate or reduce unnecessary packaging. Number 5, use fee per bag waste collection system. Number 6, establish cradle to grave responsibility. And number 7, restructure urban transportation system. What can you do? Solid waste. Follow the 3 Rs of resource use, such as reduce, reuse, and recycle. Ask yourself whether you really need a particular item and refuse packaging where possible. Rent, borrow, or barter goods and service when you can buy second-hand and donate or sell unused item. Buy things that are reusable, recyclable, compostable, and be sure to reuse, recycle, and compost them. So, mo to siya, ang katong example sa Integrated waste management. So katong plastic, glass, metals, and paper. So pwede na to siyang ma-recycle. Then, avoid disposables and do not use throwaway papers and plastic plates, cups, and eating utensils. So, sa mga ginamit na nga mga paper and plastic plates, so di na to na siya pwedeng gamito na usab. And other disposable items when reusable and refillable versions are available. Use email or text messaging in place of conventional paper mail. Read newspaper and magazines online. Buy products in book or concentrated from whenever possible. Why is reusing and recycling materials so important? Reusing items decreases the use of water and energy resources and reduce pollution and natural capital degradation. Recycling does so to a lesser degree. So the more we recycle, the less garbage. So for example, katong sa Manila Bay, as we can see, daghan kayong garbage nga sa throw dito. So muna to siya ang matawag na tong water pollution. But after how many years, so na-solve gihapon nila pinagi sa pagtinabanganay para malimpyo gid ang katong Manila Bay. Reuse, important way to reduce solid waste pollution and to save money. Reuse, clean and use materials over and over. Downside to reuse in developing countries, salvaging automobile parts, rechargeable batteries.
Use of refillable containers. When we say refillable, that can be filled again after being empty. So, reuse and recycle. Refillable glass beverage bottles, like sa mga ilim nun nga botelya. So, pwede pa siya ma-refill, pwede pa nimo siyang magamit. And then, refillable soft drink bottles made of polyethylene terephthalate or PET plastic. So, pareho nang sa soft drinks ng mga botelya nga hinimo sa polyethylene terephthalate plastic. When we say polyethylene, so kato na siyang plastic bottle, like sa soft drinks, water bottles, and then paper, plastic, or reusable cloth bags. Pros and cons. Ang pros is kato na siyang advantages, like pwede pa nato siya magamit in multi-purpose, and then pareha sa mga paper or plastic, pwede pa nato siya mahimog mga design. And then ang cons is disadvantages is pwede ni siya maka-cause og mga bacteria. And then energy consumption involved with using different types of 350 ml containers. So, mao ni siya. And then, what can you do for reuse? Buy beverages in refillable glass containers instead of cans or throw away bottles. Like sa Coke, may Coke man nga can, so instead nga sa can, i-add to na lang ta sa bottle Coke kay pwede pa nato siya mapuslan. Use reusable plastic or metal lunch boxes. And then, carry sandwiches and store food in the refrigerator in reusable containers instead of wrapping them in aluminum foil or plastic wrap. Yes, kanang sa mga pagkaon, instead nga iputos nimo siya sa plastic, so ibutong yun nimo siya sa sudlanan and then isulod sa ref para dili mapanos. And then use rechargeable batteries and recycle them when their useful life is over. So, pwede po na to siya ma-reuse. And then, carry groceries and other items in a reusable basket, a canvas or string bag, or a small cart. And then, use reusable sponge and washable cloth napkins, dish towels, and handkerchiefs instead of throwaway paper ones. Like sa kanang sa pinggan, kanang pagtrapo sa pinggan, pwede man ta mo gamit og mga panapton or mga sinina nga dili na nato magamit instead of paper napkins kasayang-sayang ra nagkwarta. Buy used furniture, computers, cars, and other items instead of buying new. And the last is give away or sell items you no longer use. Kanang mga gamit or butang ni mga dili na magamit, like sinina nga dili na makaigo, pwede nimo siya ihatag or pwede pa mo siya mabaligya. So, there are two types of recycling. First, primary or closed-loop recycling. When we say closed-loop recycling, it is material used to create a new version of the same product. An example of closed recycling product is like glass used for bottles and jars. And then the second is secondary recycling. Secondary recycling is waste materials are recycled into new products. Example, plastic bottles into plastic bags. And then card and paper packaging recycled into new paper and card products. Types of waste that can be recycled. So, there are two: pre-consumer internal waste and post-consumer external waste. Pre-consumer internal waste, it is made from manufactured waste that never actually made it to the consumer. Scraps, rejects, or trimmings. Post-consumer external waste, made from waste that's been used by a consumer, disposed of and diverted from landfills. Stuff like the aluminum cans and newspapers that you place in your recycling bin for pickup. There are two types of recycling. Do items actually get recycled? What are the numbers? Will the consumer buy recycled goods? We can mix or separate household solid wastes for recycling. Materials recovery, like plastics, cardboard paper, including newspapers, magazines or cartons, or glass bottles and jar and etc. Source separation. Source separation is separating materials by the type at the point of discard so they can be recycled. For example, there may be separated streams of metal, glass, paper, and plastic, or there may be one stream for paper and one for mixed containers. Pay as you know. Pay as you throw is a policy that charge people for the amount of trash they toss out. Like sa US, pag makita sila nga galabay og basura, So, na sila penalty. And then, fee per bag. We can copy nature and recycle biodegradable solid waste. Composting, individual, municipal, and then benefits, and then successful program in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. Discard dead solid waste letters, beaches. Yes, kanang sa mga daplin sa dagat.
Trade-offs, recycling, advantages, and disadvantages. These are the advantages of trade-offs recycling. Reduces air and water pollution, saves energy, reduces mineral demand, reduces greenhouse gas emissions, reduces solid waste production and disposal, helps protect the biodiversity, can save landfill space, important part of economy. And this one are the disadvantages of trade-offs recycling. Can cost more than burying in areas with ample landfill space. May lose money for items such as glass and some plastics. Reduces profits for landfill and incinerator owners. Source separation is inconvenient for some people. We can encourage reuse and recycling. These are the question. What hinders reuse and recycling? So, reuse and recycling waste helps save landfill space by keeping useful materials out and prevents the emissions of many greenhouse gases and water pollutants and saves energy. Encourage reuse and recycling. Government increases subsidies and tax breaks for using such products. Decrease subsidies and tax breaks for making items from virgin resources. We can encourage reuse and recycling. We have here three examples. And number one, we have fee per bag collection. Communities using this system charge residents a per unit amount for each trash container they fill. For example, residents may pay 1.25 pesos for each bag they set out. And the second example is NYOLOS, an act institutionalizing the extended producer responsibility on plastic packaging waste. Amending for this purpose, otherwise known as the ecological solid waste management, and the third is citizen pressure. The advantages and disadvantages of burning or burying solid waste. Concept 24-4. Technologies for burning and burying solid waste are developed, but burning contributes to pollution and greenhouse gas emissions. And buried waste eventually contribute to pollution and land degradation. Burning solid waste has advantages and disadvantages. Waste to energy incinerators. Pollutions, a waste to energy incinerator with pollution controls. Waste to energy incinerator plants burn municipal solid waste or MSW, often called garbage or trash, to produce steam in a boiler, and the steam is used to power an electric generator turbine. Incineration advantages and disadvantages. Burying solid waste has advantages and disadvantages. Open dumps and sanitary landfills. Number one, that's the open dump. Open dump is defined as a land disposal site at which solid waste are disposal of in a manner that does not protect the environment, are susceptible to open burning, and are exposed to the elements, vectors, and scavengers. Number two was the sanitary landfills. While sanitary landfills are required to have plastic or clay lining by federal regulation, these liners tend to have risks.
Solutions: state-of-the-art sanitary landfill. The sanitary landfill begins with a linear that acts as a barrier, preventing the leachate from contaminating soil and groundwater near the landfill site. The main purpose of a landfill is to control solid waste to prevent the spread of diseases. It also protects the environment from air, water, and soil contamination. The advantages and disadvantages of sanitary landfills. Advantages are no open burning, little odor, low groundwater pollution if sited properly, can be built quickly, low operating cost, can handle large amounts of waste, field land can be used for other purposes, no shortage of landfill space in many areas. Disadvantages are noise and traffic, dust, air pollution from toxic gases and trucks, releases greenhouse gases or methane and CO2 unless they are collected, slow decomposition of waste, output approach that encourages waste production, eventually leaks, and can contaminate groundwater. How should we deal with hazardous waste? A sustainable approach to hazardous waste is first to produce less of it, then to reuse or recycle it, then to convert it to less hazardous materials, and finally to safely store what is left. We can use integrated management of hazardous waste. First, integrated management of hazardous waste: produce less, convert to less hazardous substances, rest in long-term safe storage, and increase use for post-consumer hazardous waste. Integrated hazardous waste management. First, produce less hazardous waste. Change industrial processes to reduce or eliminate hazardous waste production. Recycle and reuse hazardous waste. Second, convert to less hazardous or non-hazardous substances. Natural decomposition, incineration, thermal treatment, chemical, physical, and biological treatment, dilution in air or water. Third, put in perpetual storage, landfill, underground injection wells, surface impoundments, underground salt formations. We can detoxify hazardous waste. Collect and then detoxify. First is physical methods. Include evaporation, sedimentation, flotation, and filtration. Yet another process is solidification, which is achieved by encapsulating the waste in concrete, asphalt, or plastic. The second is chemical methods. Include ion exchange, precipitation, oxidation, and reduction and neutralization. Third, use nanomagnets. Fourth, bioremediation. In bioremediation is a cost-effective and environmentally tolerable technology that employs a biological process to reduce environmental risk caused by toxic substances and other hazardous pollutants. Fifth, phytoremediation. makes use of green plants to clean up the threat radioactive contaminated sites, for example, soil, water, and sediments. Incineration is the process of burning hazardous materials and temperatures high enough to destroy contaminants. Last is using a plasma arc torch. Using a plasma arc torch is relatively new technology for disposal of waste, and it also used for preventing hazardous waste from reaching landfills. So, mo ni siya ang phytoremediation. So, na siya 3 parts. Morning radioactive contaminants, organic contaminants, and inorganic metal contaminants. So, ang radioactive contaminants occurs when radioactive material is deposited on or in an object or a person. Radioactive materials released into the environment can cause air, water, surfaces, soil, plants, building, people, or animals to become contaminated. Dayon, ang organic contaminants is maybe defined as chemicals that are carbon-based, for example, organic solvents, pesticides, or petroleum-based. Last is inorganic metal contaminants. Commonly occur in nature and often end up in our surface and groundwaters. Some occur as a result of man-made pollution such as perchlorate, and others like nitrates occur because of interaction between nature and pollution. Next is ang phytoremediation, na siya advantages and disadvantages. So, ang iyang advantages is easy to establish, inexpensive, can reduce material dump into landfills, produces little air pollution compared to incineration, low energy use. Then, ang disadvantages niya is slow or can take several growing seasons. Effective only at deep plant roots can reach. Some toxic organic chemicals may evaporate from plant leaves. Some plants can become toxic to animals.
Trade-offs. Plasma arc advantages and disadvantages. Plasma arc. So, ang plasma arc na siya mga disadvantages o advantages. So, iyang advantages is small, mobile, easy to move to different sites, produce no toxic ash. Dayon, ang disadvantages niya is high cost, produces CO2 and CO, can release particulates and chlorine gases. Then, lastly, can vaporize and release toxic metals and radioactive elements. So, mao to siya mga advantages o disadvantages sa plasma arc. Next, we can store some forms of hazardous waste. So, pwede na ito ma-store ang mga hazardous waste sa burial on land or long-term storage, deep well disposal, surface impoundments, o secure hazardous landfill. Next, deep well disposal advantages and disadvantages. So, naay mga advantages ang deep well disposal. Una is safe method if sites are chosen carefully. Then, waste can often be retrieved if problems develop. Then, easy to do, and lastly, low cost. So, mao to siya mga advantages sa deep well disposal. So, dirita sa disadvantages niya. Una, leaks or spill at surface.
Then, leaks from corrosion or well causing. And then, existing fractures or earthquakes can allow waste to escape into groundwater. Then, lastly, output approach that encourages waste production. Next, surface impoundments, advantages and disadvantages. Ang advantages aning impoundments is low construction cost, low operating cost, can be built quickly, waste can often be retrieved if necessary, can store waste indefinitely with secure double liners. Dayon, naa siya'y disadvantages. Groundwater contamination from leaking liners, air pollution from volatile organic compounds, overflow from flooding, disruption and leakage from earthquakes, output approach that encourages waste production. Secure hazardous waste landfill. So, as you can see in the picture, na siya silbi mga parts. So, na siya impervious day, bulk waste, gas vent, topsoil, earth, sand, plastic cover. Silbi mga parts na po na siya sa waste landfill. Na siya secure hazardous waste landfill. So, what can you do? Hazardous waste. Una, avoid using pesticides and other hazardous chemicals or use them in the smallest amounts possible. So, likayan na to ang paggamit og mga pesticides or other hazardous chemicals. Pwede man nato sila gamiton pero ginagmay lang. Second, useless harmful substances instead of commercial chemicals for most household cleaners. For example, use vinegar to polish metals, clean surfaces and remove stain and mildew. Baking soda to clean household utensils and to deodorize and remove stains, and borax to remove stains and mildew. So, instead of katong mogamit ta og mga commercial chemicals, pwede ta mogamit og vinegar to remove stains, vinegar or baking soda. Third, do not dispose of pesticides, paints, solvents, oil, antifreeze, or other hazardous chemicals by flushing them down the toilet, pouring them down the drain, pouring them, throwing them into the garbage, or dumping them down storm drains. Instead, use hazardous waste disposal services available in many cities. So, kabalo jud kung nakasabot mo ato. So, dili mo magpataka og labay og hazardous chemicals. Instead, dito mo or gamitin niyo ang hazardous waste disposal services available sa inyong cities. Next, how can we make the transition to a more sustainable low waste society? Shifting to a low waste society requires individuals and businesses to reduce resource use and to reuse and recycle waste at local, national, and global levels. Grassroots action has led to better solid and hazardous waste management. Not in my backyard. Produced least waste, then not in anyone's backyard or not on planet Earth. So, kana inyong mga hazardous waste, chemical, ayaw ninyo na pasagdai or ayaw ninyo na ilabay-labay lang dito sa inyong backyard. Hindi lihatan ninyo na sa hazardous waste disposal services available in many cities or sa inyong lugar. Kay kamura pa maunay ana or kamura pa magkasakit ana. That's all. Thank you.